Hey, what's up guys, George's Boosters here and welcome back to another One Piece video. Super exciting one today actually, because it's not just me. I am joined by my friend OPTCGgrinder, aka Elijah, aka Equinby. I guess for anybody who doesn't know, just introduce yourself.
Yeah, what's up? My name's Elijah. I'm Josh's friend. Sometimes I play the One Piece card game. It's pretty fun.
Sometimes, right? Just sometimes.
Sometimes yeah. Occasionally.
And today we will be yapping about, I guess, the upcoming OP11, including structure deck format that is about to hit us. I think probably the day I'm going to be uploading this, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're just going to be talking about what we think is good, what we think is not good, and everything in between. And also, you know, how the structures are going to influence the format, because that's pretty cool, right? Like, we actually have a new format to delve into, kind of, opposed to just following Asia. Yeah.
It's so sick, actually. Is this like... This is the first time ever that the West... You've been playing the game longer than me, obviously. This is the first time ever that the West has gotten cards before the East, right?
Yeah. I think we had like a few formats that were a little bit different because of the ban list, but this is, like you said, the actual first time we got new cards that we get to play with before they do. So very exciting.
Super sick.
Yep. So, you know, just for anybody who is tuning in, who is for some reason not familiar with what a tier list is, just explain the tiers real quick. For me, tier 1 basically is this deck is going to be consistently topping or winning like regional level events and doing so in bigger numbers, right? So if like one deck squeaks in and manages to get out a win, that's not necessarily a tier 1 deck in my opinion, but they were just like consistently, I don't know, 3 or something in top cut. That's what is tier 1 for me. Tier 2 is just anything that can get a regional top, I suppose, but probably won't be doing it as consistently as tier 1. Tier 3 is just like local warrior type decks. Those decks can win locals, but probably not much more. And then actual rogue bait is actual rogue and bait. And then the D tier is on the screen as well, but I'm not sure why, to be honest. And then maybe we'll have a like something above tier 1 for this tier list, but I'm not quite sure yet. We can talk about it when we get there, I suppose. Yeah, any additions?
Sure. No, I think this is great. I think there's going to be some things that I'm not sure if they belong in tier 1 or tier 2. I have like kind of some conflicting thoughts about it, so I'll definitely be interested to see your thoughts. Because in my mind, they're almost like a 1.5, like I'm kind of undecided. So maybe you can be a little tiebreaker in my mind.
Yeah, or we can just add a tier 1.5. We will see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I suppose we'll just dive right into it with the first guy that is on the list here, which is going to be Teach. Why don't you just kick it off? What do you think about Teach?
Yeah, Teach is definitely, it's at least tier 2 to me. I think the structure deck cards are really good. Like, that Kuzan card is phenomenal. The other new blocker is pretty good. I think probably as like a 1 or 2 of, just to play off Kuzan and endgame scenarios so you don't get like gravity bladed or whatever. The 7 cost Jack card obviously also could be very good as like a 1 or 2 of. One of the problems with Jack before was that like it's not searchable and it's a brick, but now that they have a searchable one, they can lean a little bit more into that play style if they want to, which is also, I believe, the play style that they really want to be doing versus a deck like Blue Purple Luffy, which we'll get to eventually. So to me, at least tier 2, maybe tier 1.
Yeah, so I think the structure deck for the Teach deck is a little bit weird. Like, the cards are obviously very good, right? But I don't really feel that they really solve the matchups that were bad for Teach previously, right? Like, I don't really think the Kuzan is going to save Teach from losing to Belo Betty, for example. And also the 7 cost is also a little bit weird in my opinion, because like you said, Jack exists, right? Which is basically the same card, only it's not searchable. And Teach wasn't really playing Jack either in the past format. So I'm really not sure where the deck is going to fit in, but it does have like a pretty good matchup into the Blue Purple Luffy anyway, right? Which I think is going to be a pretty deciding factor in just placing any deck in this tier list probably. So, and it's also obviously extremely good against Lucci, which is also a deck I don't think will disappear necessarily in the next format. So I would probably put it as a tier 1 contender, but maybe it will be a little bit lackluster and be tier 2 in the end. But I feel good with it being a tier 1 probably.
Okay, yeah. If you feel good with it, I feel good with it, because that's where I lean, but
yeah,
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I agree. There is like some decks that I'm sure that are gonna be like phenomenal decks, and then Teach, I'm like a little bit on the fence, but like if I had to wager money on it, I would probably say it's going to do fairly well in the upcoming format. Then we have Bonney. So this deck actually got a structure deck as well, but it's not that good. I hope I don't piss off like anybody by saying that, but I really feel like the Bonney structure deck is more like a green-yellow lol structure deck, or maybe even like a carrot structure deck. And I didn't think Bonney was that good to begin with, to be honest. Like, it's not a horrible deck by any means, but it's not like a blue-purple Luffy or like a green-purple Luffy, or something like that, right? So I would probably say it's a tier 2 deck still, even with the structure deck.
Yeah, we just saw this last weekend in NA. We just saw it win a regional.
Right, that is true.
Boyfriend.
That is true.
Yeah, I agree. The structure deck doesn't really add too much. Like you get a couple new 2Ks that are nice. You get like a new searcher if you really want. I don't really think the Law and Beppo is really gonna make the list. I mean, we'll see. So I'm not really thinking it's going to get a huge boost. I feel like Bonney is one of those decks where I always feel like it shouldn't do that well, because I look at the landscape and I feel like it has so many bad matchups. But then Bonney's a pretty good skill check deck, and because it's always like not really the best deck or like up there, I think it gets a lot of percentage points in tournament versus people not actively being practiced versus it.
Yeah, and people are also not teching to beat this deck, right?
Exactly. So like my instinct is like, man, this deck kind of sucks and I want to put it in tier 3, but I think because like the core strengths of the deck are good enough, and people will not be practiced versus it, you can probably do well enough to have a couple sneak into top cut. So I think it's got to be near the bottom of tier 2.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same way, I think. And also, let's not forget the Bonney leader skill is extremely powerful, just like generically speaking. Very strong. It's basically what makes green even playable, right? If we're not counting green-purple, of course, for now. Okay, then Calgara. Do you have any thoughts whatsoever about this deck?
Not even one.
Yeah, me neither, to be honest. But I feel like it can definitely win a local, so it probably tier 3, I guess. It has like a good green-purple Luffy matchup, right? I suppose.
Sure, I guess. If you say so.
I think so.
I don't know. I haven't played a Calgara since 07, I don't think.
Yeah, same to be honest. Like, honestly, this is just on the tier list because last time when I did EBO2, it was with Skepas G, George, and he's like a really big fan of this deck, so I included it for that reason, but I don't know. Let's just stop talking about this. I think tier 3 is fine, and let's start going into Purple Katakuri. Have you played against this deck ever?
I haven't, unfortunately.
Okay.
I think there's some things about it that seem interesting for sure. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So I also don't have like an immense amount of games under my belt playing against this leader, as you can probably imagine. But I don't know. It's weird. Like, the leader ability is not very good. You do need to open something like the 3-cost pudding for it to even kind of go off. If you like early game go like on 3 don't play pudding, on 5 don't play Peril Sparrow, you can actually ramp a little bit, which is nice. And the Peril Sparrow is strong. It's like a 7k body. And then the 10-cost Big Mom, that's also like a strong card, right? But I think it kinda stops there with it being like pretty cool and kinda strong, and I don't really see Purple Katakuri making it to any regional top cuts, to be honest. But I do think it's like in that same ballpark as Calgara, where if you're like your fundamentals are good and you have like a decent list, you can probably take down a local with it, but I wouldn't really expect to do more with it than that. Then Arlong. I included this because I think this made like top 8 or top 16 at the Treasure Cup that was held in Europe last week, I think. So I was like, okay, we should probably include this. It's just like a aggro deck. It got some support in EB 02 in the form of the Buggy, I think. That card is pretty good with this Arlong. I'm really not sure. I've literally played against this like one time in the past month. But I mean, it made like top 16 or even top 8, I'm not sure, at the Treasure Cup, right? So it can't be that bad, I don't think. I'm not sure if you have any thoughts about this.
Yeah, I've actually played versus this a little bit more than Calgara and Katakuri. I think this deck is actually genuinely not bad. Like, it's for sure better than the other 2 decks that we've put in tier 3, like for sure. I could even see it in like the very bottom of tier 2, like the very bottom. It's actually like a very reasonable aggro deck that will, like, people are not going to be practiced first. Like, you can very easily catch people slipping. They're not going to know what's in your list. It's actually a very reasonable strategy. Yeah,
I think tier 2 is probably fine, like, with the little amount of knowledge I have about this deck. It's a very cool deck, and like you said, it's one of those decks. Some decks, they are just, like, pretty good, but nobody plays them, and then you have, like, this immense advantage of people just not knowing what's in your deck list. And that can really swing a lot of games in your favor.
100%.
So, yeah. Then let's move on to my little pet deck here, which is Chopper. I really like this deck. I still do. I think, like, with Snake Man being in the format, and this having like a pretty decent matchup into it, if you can actually, like, if you high roll a little bit, you can actually, you know, not get to the late game, or at least not be in the late game for like more than one turn. So you can actually like beat Snake Man. So I kind of want to put it in tier 2, but again, this is just one of those decks that I think is pretty good, but nobody really plays. However, I do have to admit it's very bad into Belo Betty and Zoro. I feel like those pretty much do the same thing, but like a little bit better, and then this deck's not very good into those. It's good into Teach though, so that's also a plus, I guess. I want to put it in tier 2, but I can also accept it being in tier 3, but I refuse to put it into actual rogue/bait.
I don't think I have ever played versus a single Chopper in my entire life, so that tells me actual rogue/rage bait, but we can put it wherever you want, I guess.
I'll put it below Arlong.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to Enel. What do you think about Enel?
I think the new 10 cost that it got in EB is like really, really strong. I think that card is phenomenal. I think, man, it's probably going to be really like a tough landscape for Enel. Like, if we think about the best decks, as we'll get to them.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes me feel like even though he's gotten that nice buff, he's like top of tier 3. I mean, it's so hard to like put him below Chopper and Arlong though, so I guess like he has to be tier 2. Maybe we're being a little too generous about the tier 2 decks, but
maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll clean up at the end.
Yeah, we'll clean it up. I mean, he is still like a good strategy in a lot of ways, but I think the things at the top are definitely not going to be good matchups for him, I think, is the main problem.
I feel like pretty much, I think every top deck is going to be a bad matchup for Enel, except for like Belo Betty, probably.
Yeah.
So definitely not Enel's time to shine, but again, Enel is also kind of a skill check deck, I think. Even now with Enel being released for like longer than a year, I think, maybe like 1.5 years or something, there's still people who don't know how to combat this leader, right?
It's insane.
And I mean, it is insane, but it's also true. So that's good for the Enel enthusiasts among us. I feel like tier 2 is probably where it should be. Even if the top decks are bad matchups, I think like the leader ability it's like Bonney. It's just a very, very strong leader ability. The Garp it plays is also pretty strong. Like you said, the new Tankles Enel, very, very powerful. It's just the matchups are just not there for this deck in the current format. And haven't been for a while, actually. I think.
Yeah.
But it does feel kind of bad putting this below Chopper and Arlong. So...
I completely agree.
Alright, let's move on to Jinbe. I hope you have anything to say about this, because I don't.
Yeah, I've played a couple games with it because my friend Drago is a big fan of Jinbe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the deck is fine. It's probably like a top of tier 3 type deck. I mean, the problem is it's still a green deck, which is not a great start. The new 6 cost Jinbe is like really good. You also get to Hody, which is obviously great. It does have some nice things for it. Like the leader skill is low key, like pretty good. Restanding one of your characters and one of your Dawn at the end of the turn is quite nice. The problem is he doesn't really have that good of a card pool. Like he does have the Jinbe, he does have the Hody. But like, you know, restanding a Dawn is cool, but like really all you're doing with that Dawn is like plus 3,000 from an event. You know, if he had like a Gum Gum Giant or something insane like that, I think then like that sort of effect would be a lot better. But he's neat.
Okay, I have literally nothing to add, so let's just put him there and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Then we have Gecko Moria. So I think this deck was really good in the past format. I mean, really good. It was like a tier 1 deck, right? But definitely like a tier 2 deck. However, now with Snake Man being released, that's like a horrible matchup for this deck. Like, you are kind of tempo-y, but you're not even nearly fast enough to, you know, actually rush down the Snake Man deck. And then in the late game, it's not like a Lucci where you can really play the control game. So... at least you can't play the control game against the Snake Man deck, and I really think just, you know, with that being said, I mean, it's probably I would maybe it's better than Arlong. I'm not sure. It does still have like a good time into, like, it beats Enel, it beats Bonney. Doesn't beat Teach. It will probably beat, you know, Belo Betty, Zoro, stuff like that. It's very strong against those type of decks. I think if you have like a lucky run with this deck, it's also a hyper consistent deck, which is pretty good. So I don't know. I think it's probably a tier 2 deck still. If you have a lucky run, I think you should be able to top a regional with this.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the placement. I've long time been a Moria believer. I think I've maybe not been as high in it as you were in the OP10 format, but I did feel like there was real potential there, and the strategy is just pretty good, so I'm happy with it there. Yeah,
solid deck. Then we have Garp. I'll just put this in bait if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, I know literally nothing about Garp, so I'm down.
This deck, I don't know, this deck is just unplayable. You would think, you know, with the... What's it called? With the leader skill, it kind of reads like it would be good, you know, if you're playing black, but then you're a 4-life leader and you're like red-black, which there's absolutely no synergy between those colors. I guess there is like a little bit now because of the Koby support, but the Koby support doesn't synergize with Garp at all, so that doesn't really help it. If you're playing control deck, you should probably be playing Rob Lucci. So, yeah, I'm sorry, Garp, but it is what it is. Then Doflamingo. I'll have you talk about this first.
Yeah. I wonder why. I think Doflamingo in EB especially was probably pretty slept on. I wasn't playing it because I was playing Green Purple Luffy. But I think towards the tail end of OP10, we saw that Doflamingo had a ton of success. And I think in a lot of cases was actually the correct pick to near the end of the format. And for a lot of the similar reasons why it was good in 10, it was probably good in EB. It's just you added a slightly losing matchup in Green Purple. But the nice thing is no one was testing Green Purple into Doflamingo. So again, you kind of had a little bit of a matchup knowledge edge if you did choose to play it, which I know week 1 there were some very notable players like Sammy and Jackson Juan who both took it to the first online. Because of that, I feel like I'm sure blue purple is like not a great matchup, but I also imagine it's not the worst ever because you can go pretty fast with Doflamingo even without Jinbe. And mostly because I just don't really respect any of the decks in tier 2. I would put it above all of those.
Okay, yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, I think I can agree with this. Doflamingo just remains such a powerful deck, right? Just inherently, I mean, the card pool for the deck is just very, very strong. The leader ability is very strong. It's still a very versatile deck. Like, you can play a little bit of control. If you need to, you can play like pretty aggro. It's very good into Teach, which we have in tier 1 right now. I also think it should probably be okay into Snake Man. Like, of course, I haven't played this matchup at all, but just thinking about it, it sounds like it shouldn't be like a auto lose matchup for Dofi. So, and I also think it's a better deck than all the other decks that are in tier 2. You wouldn't consider it for tier 1?
I don't think so. I don't think it would have any reasonable chance to like top 8 a tournament, which is kind of like where I put the tier 1 is like, do you have like an actual reasonable chance to top 8? And I don't think so. I think like it's probably going to be winning into Blackbeard, and then I think everything else that we put in tier 1, I think it's going to be like maybe on the wrong side of 50.
I mean, I think that is true. Depending, like if you put Belo Betty in tier 1, then I guess it should have like a good time into Belo Betty, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's true.
Let's just keep it like at high tier 2 for now. Then we will move on to Vegapunk. This deck, I had it really low last time, but low-key, it might kind of be good. Like, I'm not completely sure, but I think it should be pretty good into the Luffy deck, right? Because it can go really fast. Like, if you just see all the pieces, then you can just, like, spam the board with all these 5-cost bodies. Just go, like, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, which is pretty strong. And then I also think a lot of people still don't know how to play into this deck. I've seen a lot of people say that Vegapunk is, like, almost auto-win against Lucci as well. I'm not so sure about that, but that's what I heard on the streets. That's what insane. I thought as well, but I literally saw like so many people say this, and they really got me questioning whether I'm just stupid or I've never played against a good Vegapunk in my life. But I don't know. Then it's also good into Teach, right, Vegapunk? Which is good for it. Snake Man, probably not so good into Belo Betty. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think it should probably go here. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm down. I think that's the perfect spot. Yeah, that's exactly where I would have put it.
Any additional thoughts that I failed to mention?
No, I think the deck's pretty good. I think that new blocker that they got in EB is like extremely custom. Yeah. But, you know, ultimately it's just hard to be one of the best decks when you can't attack. We haven't really seen that happen yet.
I mean, if you read like Vivi or Rebecca, you're like, whoa, this is insane. But then the leader can't attack, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe not so good. Moving on to Red Purple Luffy. I think this deck's very good as well, to be honest. The question is just, like, why would you opt to play this leader over Snake Man? I don't know. You tell me.
I think the main reason why you would play this is, at least in NA, what we've seen is people have kind of moved away from what Red Purple has historically been built to do in this EB format, which historically people are building it to be this big bomb deck, right? With maybe 10 Shanks or 9 Beard or whatever. What we've seen in NA recently, at least the list that have been having success, is a lot more like mid-range esque characters, a lot of 4-cost Zoro, some 6-cost Luffy, really running no top end other than the 9 Luffy.
Right, yeah.
So I think really the reason that you would play this over Blue Purple Luffy would not really be a power decision, but more so just a style decision. Whereas if you wanted to play like kind of a more mid-rangey esque build, um, so I think the deck is pretty good when built that way. Honestly,
It's also like
person. No, go ahead, please.
Oh, we
Okay.
synced up. Okay, no, I'll go ahead. So
You go ahead.
I go ahead. So what I forgot to say is like, or I didn't forget to say, I just didn't get to it yet, I suppose. This deck's like hyper consistent, right? We have seen these builds where it's just like, it's literally, you play like the Nami, and then you play 46 targets for the Nami, which is like pretty solid, I would say. Yeah, I just wanted to add that. I think it's a very good deck as well, but where would you put it? Like, it's tier 2 for sure, right?
Yeah, I would put it probably right below Bonney, I think.
Whoa.
I think it's either above or below Bonney's. Somewhere around there is where I would throw it personally.
Okay, well, since I have the control of making the tier list, I'm going to put it above Bonney, because I definitely think it's better than...
I'm done.
I'm not even a Bonney hater, I don't know, I just think the deck is not good. I'm sorry, people.
I agree.
Alright, let's move on to an actually good green deck, right? Which is going to be Grape Luffy, Green Purple Luffy, whatever you want to call it. And again, you can take it away.
Yeah, I love this deck. I'm super biased towards this deck. I'm really hoping that I get to continue playing it in 11. I haven't been able to do enough testing yet to really solidify my choice yet. But for sure, he is in the same ballpark as Teach, where whether or not he's like the correct pick, he's definitely going to be like one of the very viable picks. The main concern to me is just like how good can you get the Blue Purple Luffy matchup? Because I think everyone expects that to be by far the most played deck. Like I could see a world where week 1 that deck has like 25-30% representation, kind of like what we saw with Green Purple last format. If that's like a really bad matchup, like if it's 40-60 or even worse, then like that really puts a damper on my hopes of being able to play the deck. But other than that, I think it has like a 50-50 or winning matchup into like basically everything else.
I don't have that much to add. I think it might actually be like a better pick than Teach. Even I think Teach is so weird because it's super match dependent, like whether you're going to be doing well or not. And with Green Purple, it like much so just a constant deck with a solid strategy. I also don't know how it does into Snake Man that well, but we have seen this deck perform very well in the Asia format. And like, I hate to say it, but I don't think our format, even with the structure decks, is going to be that much different from their format, probably. So yeah, very comfortable tier 1 pick. Whether it's going to be the best deck or not, I don't know. Like, probably not, but it's definitely one of the better decks, I think. Then we have Belo Betty, which I think it's finally her time to shine, probably. Like, people have been playing this deck for so long, and it's never quite been there, I think. But now with it having like a very, very reasonable matchup into what's probably going to be, by far the most popular deck of the format. And then also, it's also good into Teach, obviously. Doflamingo is no longer popular, which was like a horrible matchup for this deck. I think it could finally be Belo Betty's time to be a tier 1 contender, because it is like the best, well, maybe not the best, but it is like the most aggro-ish deck out of all the decks that try to accomplish something like this, right? Like Chopper, like Zoro, like stuff like that. Would you say it's tier 1, or do you still think it's like high tier 2?
Yeah, I think it has to go in tier 1. My metric of being like, I think you have a reasonable chance to top 8. I think Betty will, especially if Blue Purple is as popular as we think it is, I think you'll very reasonably have a good chance to top 8. The 3 decks that we've discussed as being good so far is like Blue Purple, Green Purple, and Teach, and you have like a pretty reasonable matchup or very winning matchup in all 3. So yeah, Belo Betty definitely going to be a strong pick, I think.
Yeah, I'm really happy for everybody who has been enjoying the free 9-Don for like months and months. And the deck's very consistent as well, which is something I want to add, which is always, very good for a deck like this. Like, you don't really have to super high roll or anything when you're playing this deck, because, you have like the not the field spell, what's it called in One Piece? The stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a field spell.
We're showing our age.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not a Yu-Gi-Oh player anymore. Please forgive me. Lim.
Mm-hmm.
Lim. I don't know. Like, this deck is good for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's start by saying that. I'm just not sure, like, how good it is. Like, is it good enough to high roll the blue purple Luffy deck? I honestly don't know. Maybe you do.
I have no idea. I mean, Lim is a pretty fast aggro strategy, so I could see a world where it does actually do pretty decent into blue purple. Also, there's like a weird thing where, like, theoretically, if the metagame does not create an environment where blue purple Luffys are supposed to be playing Red Rock, Lim is also like an unbelievable Zoro strategy, which Zoro, if the blue purple Luffy is not playing the Red Rock, is just gonna destroy them. So I do definitely think that Lim will have some merit. I think Lim is gonna be a strategy that really depends on like what the landscape looks like, but definitely will be not a throw pick.
Yeah, I agree. But where do we put it though? Like, is it better than Doflamingo? It might be, right?
I think it's probably better than Doflamingo.
Okay. Yeah, then I feel good with Lim being there.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, we got to my boy.
Your boy.
So, yes, I think this is still a tier 1 deck. Please don't hate me. I genuinely think this deck is still really good. Like, out of the decks we discussed for being like tier 1 right now, obviously it's horrible into Teach.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. However, I do think it's like 50-50 or like slightly favored into green-purple.
Mm-hmm.
I think the same about Belo Betty. It's also favored into that. It's very playable into the Snake Man deck as well. Like, it's probably, along with Teach, the only like control deck that can actually compete with blue-purple by actually playing the control game. When you play down the 10 cost Kuzan, you can actually just still keep doing your strategy, and then like if they answer with Red Rock, at least that means that turn they won't be able to go like Sanji into whatever or play another 9-drop.
Yep.
And then hopefully you can just do like another 10-drop Kuzan or like do a little bit of setup for an additional 10-drop Kuzan on the turn afterwards. So yeah, that matchup's pretty good. It's still a very consistent deck. The builds are looking like pretty different than what it did the past few formats though, which is not bad. That's just, it's just the black removal deck, so you're going to be able to build it however you want playing that style. I think it's probably, maybe this is just the right spot where I put it actually.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Lucci?
Oh, this is not the right place to do this rant, but this deck is going to be tier 1 until we fucking ban it.
Bro, don't say stuff like that. Don't say
and I'm just going to leave it at that. Lucci is a strategy where, truthfully, if your deck does not hard counter Lucci, it's always going to be a losing matchup for you. It just, like, what it does is just, like, one of the two best things you can do in all of One Piece, which is just like remove literally everything that touches the board.
Yep.
So I have no qualms with it being where it is.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine people being like a little bit sick of seeing this leader at this point. But it's like you said, removal is just like such a strong gimmick, and this deck does it so well. And every time you want to play like a different removal deck, it's always just like, okay, cool, but Lucci does it better, so, back to the cat we go.
Every time.
Yeah. Then, speaking of, I was gonna say removal decks, but Marco is not necessarily even like a removal deck. Like, it can be, but it can also be like, the animal deck. I think Marco was a pretty solid pick in the EBO2 format, and actually in the OP10 format as well. A very underplayed deck, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I won't say it's like tier 1, but I do definitely think even in the upcoming format it should probably be... actually, I don't know. If Belo Betty gets more popular, Marco's not good into that, I don't think. It's not good into Teach. It's not good into Lucci. I think it's fine into Green-Purple. And then it's not good into Blue-Purple either, now that I really think about it. I kind of feel like it's a little bit similar to Enel in that way. Like, it doesn't really have any good matchups, but it's still a good deck, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would love to see the day that Marco is like a truly good strategy, because I think the leader skill is like really, really cool. But I don't think it's ever cracked tier 1, and I don't think that's going to start now.
Yeah, sadly. Maybe with the ace deck, who knows? Probably not though.
No,
but
I don't think so.
so someone can dream. Okay, then we have Red Green Smoker, which I think once again is like a pretty good deck, to be honest. It's like, it's not good into Lucci. Into Belo Betty, it's pretty scary as well. It is pretty decent into Teach. It's good into Green-Purple as well, just because it's like a kit strategy, right? So it kind of depends how the format shakes up. You know, with, what's it called? The 2-cost purple event. Is it Gamma Knife?
Yeah, Gamma Knife.
That reduces, yeah. You know, if that falls out of favor, then it's even better. I don't really know where to put it. I do think it's a tier 2 deck. Like, I do think if you're, like, good at playing this deck... it also got support, by the way, in OP11, kind of in the form of... What's it called? Kyujaku? Like, it's just another searcher, so the deck just got more consistent at dropping the 5-cost Smoke Run curve, which is, of course, very important.
Yes.
Very strong. I'm tempted to put it, like, I don't know, something... I feel it's better than Bonney, to be honest. Sorry for hating, but
no, it's okay.
I don't think so. Yeah. Any thoughts about this deck?
Yeah, me personally, I think Smoker is like one of the greatest bait decks of all time.
Whoa.
Like,
okay.
Like, people were so high on it, like when we first got the ban list. And then I feel like going into EB, people were high on it. And just both of those times, like, the deck did not perform at all, at least in NA. Like, we literally saw it, like, never top at all. Even though people played it so much. Like, the sim play rate at the start when we got the ban list was, like, so high. It was, like, the 3rd most played deck. And the deck just always had, like, basically a negative win percentage. I think you just need so many things to go right for you. And I think it's like pretty similar to Bonney in the fact that like it doesn't really try to do anything. So I would have it below Bonney, but probably above all the other things in tier 2. Like, I think it's a super bait strategy, but I mean, at least it has some merit, I guess.
I mean, like, it did win a regional in Europe. I think it top 32 like 1 or 2 times after that, but yeah, it didn't really put up any significant numbers except for that one win. But that one win was by I'm not sure if you know him, Arman. That guy is like just super cracked at the game. So probably not the average player is not going to be able to do that. But,
oh yeah, of course.
I mean, he managed to win a regional with it, so it's surely not horrible. Then Luffy. I was not thinking about this deck until it just came up like in the Tierlist thingy, but this deck is very good, right? Very solid strategy, I think. Do you think we will see it playing cards from the structure deck? Probably not, right? Probably not.
No, I can't think of any of them that would make sense.
Yeah, like maybe if Teach is super popular, they can play the Soba Mask or whatever it's called. Like is it a 9-drop or a 7-drop 9k beater?
It's a 7-drop. It's a 7-drop that becomes a 2-drop, basically.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I'm not really sure about this deck. Like I think just judging by the numbers in Asia, it should probably be in tier 1, but I'm not so convinced personally that it is a tier 1 deck. I really feel like the other Luffy strategies are better than this one.
Yeah, I feel kind of similarly. I mean, he has one of the best leader skills in the entire game, and he is getting the Katakuri, which is like probably the best card printed in 11, I think.
Right, yeah. Yep.
So
I think so as well.
I could see him, near the bottom of tier 1.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really have that many more thoughts about it, so let's just let's keep it over there and move on to Koby. Best deck, baby.
I saw you just posted a video. I wanted to watch it today when I get the chance.
This deck, spoiler alert for my video. I don't think it's very good. It's interesting though. I really liked game design wise what they tried to do with this leader. In the sense that it's a field control deck, but it does it in like a very different way than Lucci does it. However, sadly, that means that it also does it in a way worse way,
of course,
than Lucci does it. Honestly, I kind of want to just put it next to Garp because that's funny because, they are both like, in One Piece, like in the manga, in the show, he's like his student, so that would be funny. They're both color combination. I do probably think you can probably win a local with it though, so that would make it tier 3, I suppose, but, yeah, I wish this deck was good. It does some very cool stuff. But you need like this really specific setups, and then which you get quite consistently because you can play like 12 searchers. So you do to do your thing very consistently. It just happens to be that your thing is not very good. So unlucky, I suppose. You have anything to say about Koby?
No, I don't think so.
Or you're like,
nah, I think it makes sense.
That's fine. Okay. Yep. Then Yellow Kid. You know what? You can start talking about this deck.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say at all.
I think this deck is like very reasonable. I mean, it's 5 life. You get to heal. You get to block. But it's not particularly good. It doesn't do really any of the things that like the best strategies typically do, which is either like go wide and kill you, or remove everything you play. So it's kind of in this weird spot where like it actually has like a pretty decent leader effect and decent card pool, but it doesn't really do the things that generally win games. So honestly, I'd be perfectly happy to have it at the top of tier 3.
All right, I could see this being like a tier 2 deck, maybe in the sense that it could probably theoretically top a regional, but we also haven't really seen this deck have much success the last few weeks, I don't think. I think it got like a top 8 in Europe when OP10 was just released, and then I think it got like a top 32 maybe here or there, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it doesn't really do. I mean, you explained it perfectly fine. So then we have this deck, which I think is very interesting. Green Yellow Law. I really think we might kind of be in for a surprise in how good this deck is. I feel like Loki already was pretty good, judging just by Asia results, and then I do think the new Bonney cards, specifically the Kid and Killer, is a huge buff to this deck. Like, enormous buff to a deck that already was pretty good and does have like a pretty solid matchup into blue purple as well. And then with the new they have the Tashigi, they have the Buggy, so its time into Lucci is also not as bad as it used to be. So I really think this deck could be a tier 1 contender going into the OP11 format. I really think so. Do you have anything?
I hope that you're right. If I wasn't going to play GP Luffy, this is probably the second deck that I would most want to play. I've played a total of 0 games of it in my entire life, but like, just conceptually, it does a lot of the things that I like decks doing. However, a lot of these things that we're looking at are not looking like good matchups. I have to imagine the Belo Betty matchup is horrendous. I have to imagine that
I think so, yeah.
I have to imagine that the Teach matchup is not good. It wouldn't surprise me if the Purple Luffy matchup is not good. It wouldn't surprise me if the Lucci matchup is not great. Um, I'm not sure about the green purple Luffy matchup. I feel like that one is probably okay. And then blue purple, I think it's supposed to be maybe slightly favored verse. So to me, that sounds like a meh spread, honestly. But I haven't actually done any of that testing. That's just kind of conceptually what I think should happen.
Yeah. I think, honestly, what you say makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm just high on the copium because this deck has been doing so well, like, in Asia, these, like, last weekends. And then, with the Kid and Killer coming out, again, which I think is a huge buff.
It is.
I don't know, I'll just move it to there, and then I'll just stay high on the copium and leave it in tier 1 for now.
I wish we could put it even higher. I really do.
Yeah. Same, to be honest, because I do think it's very, very cool. I do think the skill expression in this deck is also very high, which is also, I think, very, very positive for, like, a good deck. And then we have the Boogeyman.
Yep.
We can just put this, like, over there, probably, right? Oh.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, what do we need to say about this, right? I mean, most ridiculous leader skill in the game, probably.
At least that's not banned. I would have RP law above it.
Right,
but...
I suppose, yeah. But
yeah,
it's just kind of crazy that once you reach the end game, then you basically win the game against every deck.
Yep.
And then, like, even against Lucci, this deck's still, like, it's not like Lucci beats this deck or anything. It's just like Lucci has a fighting chance against this deck. So it beats every control deck except for Teach again, I think. It's a hyper consistent deck as well. Just, if it double ramps, then it also, like, almost automatically wins the game. Like, go, I don't know, Mr. 2 into Gear Second or something like that. Absolutely ridiculous play. Yeah, I mean, what can we say about this, right? I think everybody knows that this is going to be the deck that the form is going to shape around, probably. Yeah,
for sure. I think every once in a while we get a new deck that I think is like a huge gatekeeper. I think historically in recent times since I've been playing, Lucci, Teach, and BY Luffy have kind of been those three, where it's like if your deck at any particular point cannot beat one of those three decks, their strategy is so overwhelming in a way where you like cannot play your strategy. And I think blue purple is definitely one of those things where it's like very clearly if you do not have a way to beat this deck, which from what we've seen from the East at least, mostly revolves around like just killing them before they hit their 10 dawn turn, which is like,
exactly
a lot easier said than done for obvious reasons. You just kind of get completely gate kept out because it's like you're never going to be able to do anything in the late game that is as good as draw 2. By the way, you chose those 2 draws and then Sanji into whatever the hell you want, right? Like play 2 giant bodies and you drew 2 cards that you handpicked and you're a 6k leader and you have access to Gum Giant. Like we just haven't seen anything in the game that's able to replicate anything close to that level of power in the end game.
Right, and then also it gets to the end game 1 turn early, basically, right? Which makes it even more crazy.
Yes. So it's definitely going to be probably the most played deck, definitely the perceived best deck at the start, and it's really about can one of these other decks in tier 1 find a way to kind of navigate the metagame to be better positioned.
Yep, makes sense. Then let's move on to Usopp. Yeah, guys, just don't play this deck. Like, I'll just really it's fine. It's fine. We don't have to worry about Usopp. Nah, for real though, like, I don't know, this deck's probably not good. I really don't know.
Yeah, we can throw it anywhere at the bottom of tier 2 if you want.
Yeah, let's just say it's worse than Moria. Yeah. Honest to God, I really don't know how the matchup spread for this deck is, except that, like, it beats Lucci, like, 100% of the games. which I don't like, but I'm not really sure why you would opt to play Usopp going into the next format. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Unless Lucci becomes a super mega popular,
Nah.
I guess. Then very good thing.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I can't imagine.
No, I can't either.
Shanks. I low-key don't think this deck is like. I think this is this is probably a very hot take, but I really think even in the best format, this deck wasn't that good. Like, the most popular deck probably had like the most results in OP10, but I don't know, it's just so linear. And then like what the deck does is like it's decent. Like, it's not bad or anything, but it doesn't do something super game breaking. It isn't that consistent. I just don't know. I don't know. And then we now have the best deck being a 6k leader, which also really hurts this deck, I think. Because the leader effect suddenly is that much less powerful than it is against, 5k leaders. It even wasn't the best deck anymore going into EBO2. It wasn't in OP10 either, but, people coped on it, I think. I don't know, maybe put it there or something?
Yeah. I mean, I'm completely on board with you. I think Shanks has always been worse than people think. I think the deck sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it did get the best starter deck out of all of them, so that's a big boost all the way up to right above Bonney.
That reminds me, I actually forgot to include Red Purple Uta, which is a deck that actually got more support in the Shanks structure deck than Shanks did. But I forgot to include it. But if we were to include it, I would still put it in tier 3. Do you even know what this leader does? Do you?
Something when attacking, and I think there's like maybe like it ramps and maybe it like minuses power or something like that.
Yeah, that is what it does. Yeah, I think you need to discard a film card, and then you can ramp it on and give something minus 2000. I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I mean, yeah, very very cool. Do with that what you will. We are moving on and not going to be talking about it. Smoker. This deck is super ass as well, to be honest.
Real.
I know, it's just worse Lucci, right?
Yeah, always has
been. Yep, very very sad. Like, it got like specific custom cards, basically Sengoku and the Tashigi, and then it still is just a way worse Lucci.
Yep.
R.I.P.
Rip.
Lol. I think this is should probably be here. I think
this deck probably has a pretty good blue-purple matchup.
I
I could see worlds where you actually kill them on like turn 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're just dead.
Yeah. Then it is. It's not good against Teach, right? I don't think so. It's obviously.
Yeah, I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Unless you like super high with a lot of rush cards, then maybe it's, I don't know, sorta okay. Then it's horrible against Lucci, of course. I'm not sure how it does into green purple. Should be, I don't know, maybe 45, 55 or something like that. I don't think it should be horrible into green purple. It is very consistent. It might use the Kid Killer as well. I'm not sure, actually. I haven't really thought about this. I don't know. I like it here. I don't really. I just don't know. I really don't know. I think it's probably like a decent-ish deck, but I don't really know where I would put it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair spot, honestly.
Yep. Sorry, law fans. That's you really have to bank on green yellow, I think, if you're watching this tier list.
Yeah.
Then we have Nami. Again, I honestly don't know about this deck. I really think that when they announced this leader, everybody really thought was like, whoa, that's crazy. This leader is insane, and then it just ended up doing nothing, basically.
Yeah, guilty as charged. I was one of the people. It was 2 a.m. It was revealed. I immediately made a video calling it broken beyond repair. And the leader skill is disgusting. Yes. It's so good. The problem is they printed no cards for it, so the deck list just kind of is like a random stew of random blue and yellow cards. It has like no coherent strategy in any way. So I think it is a deck that with time can eventually become good. I know that like ST22 we get the Odin card that people think is really good in it. But as for like right now, like the format that we are actually going to play, this deck is for sure ass.
So I think so as well. And it's exactly like, I'll put it in tier 3 though. Like I can't imagine it being much worse than Koby, to be honest. So let's just put it over there. Yeah, it's like you said, there is just no real synergy between any of the cards that you play in this, which just kind of makes it like a blue-yellow good stuff deck. And then it also suffers from the fact that there is no real synergy between those colors either, right? So yeah, it reads like a broken leader, but then because of the card pool, it just kind of isn't. But who knows, maybe one day it's going to be crazy. Let's move on to Zoro, which I think was also fairly popular, being like an anti-blue-purple deck at the start of the East format. But then everybody kind of figured out that Belo Betty kind of does the same, but better in that matchup. Still, though, generally speaking, I don't think this deck is bad. It's not tier 3.
Yeah, I feel like, me personally, I feel like I would put it in top of tier 2. Or like somewhere around there. I don't feel confident enough to put it in tier 1, but probably somewhere top of tier 2.
Okay, we are back once again. Just like 10 decks to go, this should be fine. But yeah, Carrot, very bait deck. It does get the Beppo LOL card from the Bonney Structure deck, but I highly doubt that's going to make this deck playable. I honestly tried, but yeah, I'm not seeing it. Then this deck is pretty interesting. This is actually probably maybe the Yamato Structure deck is the best one, or the Buggy one, which we're still getting to both. But this got like a really good structure deck, right? Out of the 6.
I don't know if I'd say like really good. I mean, it got 2 phenomenal cards, and then the other 3 are kind of just filler. I mean, like really good historically is like Doflamingo, who gets like 4 4-ofs, right?
True.
So I don't know if I'd go as far as really good, but he definitely got like 2 cards that are incredible in the strategy.
Yeah. It would be enough to make this a tier 1 deck. I don't think so. But it definitely. Oh, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential. I'm a bit on the copium, so I would put it like either at the very tail end of tier 1 or the top of tier 2. I think there's some very smart players who have high hopes for it and see a vision for it. So I'll actually be spending like some percentage of today actually testing it. I haven't been able to yet. But the dev version of the sim finally updated. So I'll be trying that out today.
Yeah, I really don't know. Maybe this is going to surprise me and it's actually going to be a tier 1 deck. I mean, it can play like Gum Gum Giant, of course, which is good. Then the 6 cost Luffy is insane in this deck. I do think it's pretty. This deck is very interesting. It is a pretty cool deck. So, but I don't know. You know what? Sure, you can have it. Tier 1. Let's just hype it up. Then we have
run it.
Yeah,
let's hype it up, baby.
Then we have this red green.
How many Luffys can we throw in tier 1?
I really think it's a little bit disappointing that they make all these Luffy decks so good, right? I don't. It's just kind of boring to me. I like seeing other characters, which. Maybe a little bit.
I'm a Luffy stan, so I'm down. I'm down. I mean, let's have only tier 1 decks be Luffy.
It's a good time to be a Luffy enjoyer, I suppose. Then Buggy. Buggy. This structure deck is also good, right? It's also good. I was literally talking before we got the structure decks about like, okay, what does Buggy need to become viable? And then the thing we really kind of came to was it has to be playable when you're going second. And I do think the structure decks provide cards that help you do this. And then the Mihawk and Crocodile, the A-drop, phenomenal card as well, of course. I think the matchup spread for this deck should also be pretty decent. Like, it has an auto win against Teach. Like, Teach can't ever beat this deck.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use your leader ability, you are going to get destroyed. And if you do use your leader ability, you are going to get destroyed as well. Which I think is extremely funny.
Mm-hmm. It is funny.
Yeah, Lucci actually also has like a pretty rough time going into this deck, especially now with the Crocodile Mihawk. Belo Betty can't play against this deck because, I mean, you can't swing when you're Belo Betty, so unlucky.
Yep.
I'm just not sure how good the blue-purple Luffy matchup is, to be honest. But I don't know. I think the rest of the matchup spread seems pretty good. So
yeah,
I would probably say might even be like here, maybe. I'm very excited for this deck.
Yeah.
Very excited.
I could see worlds where it even ends up higher, honestly. It's definitely a strategy that I'm excited to see. It has a lot of things going for it. Like, really the three issues with the deck were like your even curve, making sure your hand advantage is good, and not losing to removal. And Bandai like printed multiple cards that addressed all of those issues. So huge boost to the strategy. The question to me is just like, how can it fare into blue purple? Yeah, I think that's the main question, because I think versus mostly everything else in tier 1, we should be doing pretty good as Buggy. I mean, definitely losing to green purple, but everything else I think you have like probably a pretty decent chance into. The question is just
I agree.
How
it's a good time to be a Buggy fan as well. Nami, I hate this deck. I don't even want to talk about it, to be honest.
Just bottom. Just throw it at the bottom. Just throw it at the bottom. We need to disincentivize.
I really hope people are just gonna skip to the end and they're like, "Oh, Nami is like below Garp." Okay, yeah, I won't be playing this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not waste time talking about this Nico Robin deck. Unless you think we need to, but I don't think so.
Nope.
Katakuri can probably be tier 3. Reiju, I feel like we need to talk about this deck. It got new support.
It did.
So, and it wasn't a bad deck to start with either, actually. I think this deck's pretty decent, to be honest. Like, again, super consistent. It already was very consistent, and now it's even more consistent. It just kind of depends on the matchup spread, right? It's very good into Lucci. It's probably horrible into Belo Betty. It's horrible into Teach. It's horrible into green purple as well, I think. I know the deck on paper it sounds good, but then you look at the matchups and it kind of just isn't. Which would put her like over here probably.
Nah, throw her above Shanks.
Okay. Fair
She's
enough.
for sure better than Shanks.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think this deck's good. I like it. Again, it's just like probably a bad time for Reiju to be in the format, just because like a lot of flopper decks have a very good time going to her. So yeah. Then just real quick to the last Luffy's. This deck, I don't know. Tier 3 here. Literally no idea. And then this deck I want to talk about a little bit because it got new support in the form of Garp, which is a phenomenal boss monster, I think, for this deck. However, this deck is again one of those decks where it's like, okay, I'm gonna be playing like the black control removal game, and then at that point you are just playing a worse Lucci, pretty much. So I don't know. I would probably put it like, I don't know, here or something.
I think that's exactly where I would put it.
Cool. And then the last deck we will be talking about, as well as the last deck that got support from the structure decks, and I think it got very good support from the structure decks, is Yamato. Pretty interesting deck. I mean, no, it's not an interesting deck. It's very straightforward and does a really stupid thing, but it does it pretty well. I think it should be good into blue-purple. On paper, it sounds like that should be a good matchup. I think it should be good into Teach as well. It's pretty decent into Lucci as well, to be honest. Probably not very good to Belo Betty. I'm not sure how the green-purple matchup is. You probably do.
Green-purple is fine, for sure. Sometimes you're able to just rush them down and they blow up and die. So it's definitely not horrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's probably pretty decent.
Yeah, I really feel like this deck doesn't really have super bad matchups, I don't think, just because the thing it does is very degenerate, very stupid. And if it gets its strategy off, then what you gonna do, right? It rests all your blockers, and then it's going to like take all your life. I mean, it's stupid, but it's a very viable win condition, and the new cards are very strong for sure. So, yeah, I don't know. Honestly, it could be a tier 1 deck. It could be.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Probably like, I don't know. I feel like I like it there, actually, where I put it. But it could be better, it could be worse. I think it's a little bit hard to judge with Yamato. It's also just a deck I don't really like existing, per se, just because it's so stupid.
It's able to just kill you.
Yeah.
Just so quickly, so easily.
Yeah, it doesn't have to
It's kind of in that Belo Betty range.
I suppose. But even Belo Betty feels less stupid to pilot than the Yamato deck. I don't want to offend any Yamato enjoyers. It's just, I don't know, rest your guy, swing big, rest your guy, swing big. Not the most interesting deck to pilot, I would imagine. Yeah, I think that is it. Do you see any decks that are like at positions where like, nah, I don't really agree with that? Or do you think we did well?
I think like the number that they are on the tier list, like Snake Man being 1, Green Purple being 2, so on and so forth, I think is like probably the correct ordering. I think like the tiers, I kind of want to move like everything down 1 tier. Like I want to have like Snake Man in his own tier, and then like everything else moved down 1. But like the ordering and like what are grouped together, I think I'm pretty happy with all of that. Also, part of me is like, man, everything after ST14 should probably not be in the same tier with the things above ST14.
I think that is actually probably true, and if I knew how to add a tier, I would do so right now. But actually, we can just move everything down a little bit. But also, that's going to be a lot of effort, so people are just gonna have to deal with this, I suppose.
They just have to. They're gonna have to watch the video and listen to the audio. They can't just look at the screenshot.
Very unlucky for them. Very unlucky. I do think Snake Man being in the same tier as these other decks is probably fair, to be honest. I really think at the start of the East format, it did look like Snake Man was like in a tier of each. So wow, we've been talking a lot. It was in a tier of its own, right? Very good job. I can talk. But then at the end of the format, and now also going into the next format, it has really fallen off quite a bit, so I can't imagine it being as oppressive as it seemed at first, but maybe I'm going to have to swallow these words, and it's absolutely going to dominate every top cut. That also would not surprise me that much, but for now I am hopeful going into the OP11 format.
Yeah, for me, it's the reason why I want Snake Man to be on his own tier really isn't even because I think he's like going to be as crazy as I feel like Doflamingo was in like 09 or whatever. Like maybe he will be, who knows. The real reason why I want him to be on his own tier is because these other 8 decks or whatever we have there, I think it's kind of gonna be a lot of kind of like a revolving door where we're trying to figure out which of those actually belong in the same tier as him. Like some of them will be but all 8 of them for sure will not be. Like, probably only like 2 or 3 of them will actually be able to perform well, put up consistent results throughout the format. And because it's so unknown, it's like I kind of want to say like have a tier where it's like this is clearly the format warper, and then these are like the 8 decks that have like a real chance of standing alongside him. But like not all 8 of them are actually going to be there, so it feels weird to have all 8 of them like genuinely in tier 1 when I think probably only like 2 or 3 of them will actually end up being so.
Okay, yeah, I can definitely agree with that take. Also, beautiful ending to the video, I think. If you have any last words, then go ahead.
No, thank you so much for having me on, Josh. Always a fun time.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. Like, genuinely, I appreciate it so much. I really do. So, yeah, be sure to check out the OPTCGgrinder. If you, for some reason, you haven't yet, then go over there as well. I will put a link to your channel in the description down below. Of course, leave a like, comment about this tier list, because I know people really love giving their opinion about stuff like this, and I love reading it. I try to respond to everything pretty much. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't yet, and if you do, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!